Hi, this is Niba Fonsam, and welcome to Beyond the Classroom channel. On this channel, you will learn a lot about data science, machine learning, deep neural networks, natural language processing, AI projects, and many other technical topics. My goal is to help you advance your knowledge in these areas and also to prepare you to take your career forward to the next level. Whether you are a beginner or an experienced professional, there is something here for everyone. So let's embark on this exciting journey together. In today's video, I will show you how I created my ChatGPT-Like application. This application was first created and published on October 8th, 2021. How does the application work? Now let's watch the video and see how my ChatGPT-Like application works. Let's dive right in. Hi everyone, I just want to quickly show you how to deploy a machine learning application as a web service in a Linux environment. So here is my Linux operating system. I'm going to open the terminal and we will navigate into the project folder. So cd into the desktop, and the project folder is inside the desktop, and here I can list the files or the content of this project folder, and you can see that it contains so many things. The first thing I want to do is to activate the virtual environment. So I'll use the source command and then activate the virtual environment, which is basically this project environment here. So we have the project environment, and I'm going to navigate into the bin and then the file called activate in order to activate this virtual environment. You can see that the virtual environment is activated. So now we will navigate again or cd into the app, which is ML app directory, and there I'm going to list the files again so you can see the different application files that I use for building this machine learning application. So what I'm going to do now is basically I'm going to run this application. It is a Flask application, so I'm going to use Flask run to run the application. And I'm also going to open this browser in order to get ready for our application to be run as a web service. So it's going to take a few seconds for this application to run. Okay, so okay, now our application is running, and it's running on this URL. This is the home URL for the application. I'm going to copy this, and then I'm going to execute that URL on the browser. Okay, so here is our browser, and I'm going to execute or run this URL, and this is the application input like interface. So here we are going to input what is this application doing. Basically, this application is a machine learning model that takes in some input data and makes prediction of house prices. Okay, so now this is the page where we will enter different information about maybe a specific house, and the information is about the house age, distance to the nearest MRT station, and number of convenience stores. So let's just enter some random numbers here. Distance to the nearest MRT station, we can take maybe 10, and number of convenience stores, let's say maybe 14. Okay, and then we are going to submit this information, and this application will make a prediction of what the house price is per unit area. Okay, so that's basically how the application runs. So I can refresh or maybe just go back and submit different values. Let's say we can change this house age to 20 years and resubmit again. Then it's going to make another prediction of the house price per unit area. So this is just a simple model. I'm going to now go to another to my GitHub account and show you the files that constitute this application. So here is my GitHub account, and you can go to github.com/fonsang/mlapp, and you will see all the files that I use for this application. We have a template which basically contains HTML or like a web browser files. We have the README, just information about this application, and we have the app.py, which is the main application. Then we have the data that was used for training this model house price data.csv. And then we train the data and save it as linear regression, pkl. And also we have the model.py, which is actually the file used for writing the code that trained the model. And then we also have the requirements.txt, which are basically the requirements needed for this application to run. And just to look a little bit into what is in these files, let's take a look at the model.app file. Like we said, this is the file that runs the app that is used in building the model. So we import the necessary packages needed to build the model and to save the model. And then here we are basically uploading the data or reading the data into Python. And here we printed a few rows of the data, and here we extract the X or the features, and here we extract the output, and here we are splitting the data into training set and test set, and then we construct our model, then fitted the data into the model. Here we are evaluating the model using R². So basically that is what we have in this file, and we now save the model in using the job life module. Okay, so the next thing is, the files that are in the templates folder. We have the input file, which is an HTML file, and what this file is doing is a file where we'll be collecting data. Is basically a web page where we will input the data that is needed, that would be used for predictions. Okay, so that's just how it looks like. And here when we submit this form, it's a web form, it's going to be submitted through a post method. And when this post method, when it's submitted through the post method, it will invoke this output endpoint. The data is basically submitted to another web page, which is the home page/output. And this contains just the different information or the different fields that we already saw in our application, house, age, and so on. So we also have the output template, and basically this is where the predicted values would be displayed. And you can see here is where the predictions are displayed, right? And now we have the app.py, which is the main application file that runs the application. So here we import necessary files, packages again, and we initialize the name of the app. And here we also have some decorators associated to some functions. So this decorator basically is binding a particular endpoint or URL. Here is the home page to this function. So when you run this home page of the application, then this function is going to be called, and it will render the input page for you to enter the information that is needed for prediction. And we also have another decorator here that binds the output page to this output function. So when you submit the input file, what happens is that it is submitted, it is posted, the data is posted to this output page, which now runs and invokes this function. And when this function runs, since the data was submitted, when it runs, it first checks if the request method is post. That means if the method that was used to submit the data to this URL is post. Okay, if it is post, then it will extract the data that was submitted to the output URL. We are using a list comprehension here and request.form.values to extract that data. We convert that data into a NumPy array and reshape it, just making it ready for prediction. And then we load our model, the model that was saved in the model.py. We load it here again and make a prediction using that model. And now we plug in that prediction into the output file and render it or display that. And if the method that we are using to invoke this output file is get, then we will rather be rendering just the output file or page without any prediction on it. Okay, so the app.run here basically runs the application on this localhost. So that is our application, and here again these are all the files required. And if you need to know, we have the requirement.txt, which is basically having the different versions of the dependencies, and also the dependencies names. And if you want to know how this really works, you can check out this book. I just published this and see how the application runs. Basically, this book is going to show you how to use Linux commands and also how to deploy this application as a use case. So if you really want to be a machine learning engineer, data scientist who kind of do back end job, or just an IT professional, then you basically want to really understand how to use Linux, because most of the tools that you'll be using for deployment, whether of software or just machine learning models, you will be running them in a Linux based environment. So this is it, and let me know if you have any question. You can inbox me on LinkedIn. Just search Nibat Fonsang. Have a great day.